In this video, we'll be covering Chapter 8, Section 1, which covers percents, sales, and discounts. It is the beginning of a new unit, so I want to let you know that we do have a formula sheet for this unit. You will be able to use this on your exam, okay? So make sure to print this out. It's under the unit materials. We also have another sheet that I will be using. Now this one here is to help you to convert from fractions, decimals, and percent when you're given one. This sheet I will have also in the Unit 2 folder, but this is not allowed on your Unit 3 exam. So make sure you know how to do this. This is just to help you until you have it memorized. Okay. Let's go ahead and start with Chapter 8, Section 1. Okay. So percents are the result of expressing numbers as part of 100. Here it says, see your handout on converting. That's the one that I just showed you here. Okay, we'll be using this to help us. So how we use this is if we're given a fraction, you want to look down the middle part and look for fraction. Since fraction is up here, this is what we are given. Then it says convert to. If you want to convert to decimals, you would use this side. If you want to convert to percentage, you would use this side. Okay. If we're given a decimal, we can convert to a percentage, or we can convert to a fraction. If we're given a percentage, we can convert to a fraction. Here's the information on how to do that. Or we can convert to a decimal, which is over here. Okay. First one says, we're given a fraction and it wants a percent. So here's my fraction, convert to a percentage. I'm going to do what it says here. It says divide the numerator, that means the top number, by the denominator. Okay. All I would do is enter this into your calculator. Okay. So what we're going to do is do 1 divided by 8. Okay. Here I have, that's going to give us this decimal. But remember, we didn't want a decimal, we want a percent. So number 2 says multiply by 100, or you can move the decimal places 2 places to the right. Okay, all I'm going to do is take this value and then times it by 100. Here I get 12.5, and then you have to add the percent sign, okay, because we are indicating that this is a percentage. Right. Number 2 says express this decimal as a percent. So now we're given a decimal right here and we want to write it as a percentage. So we're going to follow these sets of instructions. It says to multiply by 100, or you can move the decimal places 2 places to the right. Right? So I'm going to start with this one, 0.023. I'm going to times it by 100. Okay. Then it says add a percent symbol. So here I got 2.3 and then I added my percent symbol. Okay. Example 3 says to express this percentage as a decimal. So here I'm given a percentage, which is this one here, and I want to convert it to a decimal. Okay. According to the rules, it says remove the percent symbol and then divide by 100, or move the decimal 2 places to the left. Well, when you're using this calculator, it's a little bit easier. Okay. What we can do is go ahead and put in the number 67, and then in our calculator we actually have a percentage sign which is located above the parentheses. Okay. In order to get to this particular one, what I want to do is hit the second key, and then I'm going to hit that parentheses sign. And you can see I have a percent here. Okay, so when you're doing the percent to a decimal, all you have to do is press enter, or the equal sign, and here it will tell you it's 0.67. Okay, so it does it automatically for you. In this particular case here, we have 250. Second parentheses, which is located here, and then if you press enter, you can see that gives us a decimal of 2.5. The next part is over percentages, and here's an example. A is P% of B. Okay. In other words, when we translate it, we're saying A equals the percentage, which is P, of means times, and then B. Okay. When we're trying to get the values of one of these three variables, we're going to have to translate it into some type of fraction. Okay. We can use it like this or use it like this. This is basically saying the is, wherever you see the word is, that value is going to be in the numerator. So this would be an A up here. Okay. In the of part, that's going to be attached to the B, which is right here. Okay. Whenever we're dealing with percent, we're always going to have it out of 100. Remember, if we go back to percent are the results of expressing numbers as part of 100. So on this side of the equation here is going to be our percent, or we can say a number divided by 100. Okay, so we're always going to have 100 here, and then the P would go here without the percent sign. Part 4 says 42 is what percent of 84? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and set it up. Over here is 42 is. So if I have is in the numerator, I'm going to have the 42 in the numerator. The percent is actually what we're looking for of 84. So of will go in the denominator. That's where the 84 is going to go here. Once you have it like this, we can go ahead and translate that into a decimal. So if I do 42 divided by 84, that's going to get me 0.5. Okay. Once you have the 0.5, you can go ahead and translate that to a percent. Here it says divide the numerator by the denominator, which I already did here, and then multiply by 100. So times 100. Okay. That gets us 50, and don't forget to add that percent sign. Part B says 19% of what is 38. So now we're given the 19%, which I ended up putting it over here. Of what? Of what? We don't know what the of is. That's where our variable is going to be. Notice the of is the one we don't know, so our variable goes in the denominator. Is 38 is the 38 goes in the numerator. So when what you're doing here is all we're going to do is go ahead and solve for our x. In order to solve for our x, we are going to flip the 19% with the x. Okay? So anytime our variable is in the denominator, you switch it with whatever is on the other side. Once you have your x isolated, you can go ahead and perform the calculations as it is seen here. I'm going to go ahead and start with the 38, and I'm going to divide by 19%. The good thing about this calculator is you need to put the percent sign. You don't have to do the conversions itself. When I press enter, I get 200. Okay. Part C says 29% of 20 is what? Now we have the of. We don't know what the is going to be. So let's set up our equation. Is of equals your percent. Here I have 29%. I know my of, it's next to the 20. My is our unknown. So that's where our x is going to be. Okay. When you have a situation like this where our variable is in the numerator, all we're going to do is multiply these two across. Okay. So I'm going to do 20 times 29%. Okay. Let's go ahead and do that here. 20 times 29. Don't forget to include that percent sign. If you don't have a calculator that has the percent sign with it, make sure to go ahead and change that to a decimal. Press enter. I get x is going to be 5.8. Okay. On our next part, we have sales tax. The sales tax amount is going to equal the tax rate times the item's cost. So whatever the cost of the item is, times the percent rate that you have to pay in taxes, that's going to equal to the amount of sales tax. Okay. Our discount amount is going to be our discount rate times the original price. So if something is 30% off, we can put 0.3 or 30% times whatever the cost of that original value item is. And that will tell us how much we can take off the original amount. Let's go ahead and look at example 5. It says, suppose that the local sales tax rate is 6% and you purchase a computer for $1,260. How much tax is paid? Well, our sales tax is going to be equal to 6% of the amount you paid, so $1,260. In my calculator, I'm going to do 6%. Remember, you can use the percent sign times $1,260. $75.60 is the amount you would pay in taxes, right? What is the computer's total cost? Now, the total cost is going to be the amount the computer costs plus your tax amount. So here we have $1,260 plus $75.60 in taxes, and all we're going to do is add these two numbers together. And there you go, $1,335.60. I do have an alternative way to do it here. Okay, you could take the original amount and multiply it by 106%. When you're using 106, it's saying the entire amount of this amount plus 6% of the amount as well. So if you do it this way, you can just add 100 to whatever your tax rate is, and that will tell you how much the total cost would be. So if we have $1,260, we're going to times it by 106%, percent sign equals, and you get the same exact dollar value. Part 6 says a computer with the original price of $1,460 is on sale for 15% off. What is the discount amount? Okay, so our discount amount is going to be the total price times 15%. So we're going to go ahead and start with the $1,460 times 15%. We get $219 off. Okay. Part B says, what is the computer's sale price? Well, if it's $1,460, we can take $219 off. $1,460 minus 219, sure enough, $1,241 is the amount that we pay for the computer. Okay. We can also determine the sales price if we take 15% off 100. So remember, our value is originally 100, but if we can take 15% off, I'm going to subtract 15. That means I'm only paying 85% of the total cost. So if the computer was $1,460, I would be paying 85% of that. It still gives you the exact same value. Okay. In this next part, it says percent and change. So the amount of either increase or decrease divided by the original amount. Be careful with this. The original amount always goes in the denominator. The amount difference is going to go in the numerator. Okay? So if you have a positive value, it's usually an increase. If you have a negative value, that would be your decrease. Okay. Let's look at a few examples. If 6 is increased to 10, now this is the original amount, this is the new amount. Find the percent of increase. So I'm going to take the new amount and I'm going to subtract the original amount. Divide that by the original amount. Okay, so 10 minus 6 is going to be 4 divided by 6. Okay, when you do this in your calculator, you're going to do 4 divided by 6, and then you will see a repeating decimal. Okay, this is the decimal and not your percent. So what do we have to do? Remember, we're going to have to times this by 100. Okay, this is going to be our percent, but notice that this is going to be a fraction. How do I get from our decimal to our fraction? Okay, in this case, we're going to go ahead and change it. If you have this calculator, you can change it by pressing the second PRB. If you notice up here, it says F to D, fractions to decimals or decimals to fractions. So if I do second PRB, I'm telling the calculator change it from one to the other. Here's our 66 and 2/3. The U is going to be our space. So 66 space 2/3. Don't forget to add your percent sign. Part B says if 10, this is now our original amount, is decreased to 6, find the percent decrease. Okay? So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the 10, that's our original amount, and then minus 6, okay, divided by 10. So 10 minus 6 is 4, divided by 10, and so if I put that in the calculator, I will see a decimal of 0.4. Once you have your decimal, remember changing your decimal to a percentage is where you're going to times it by 100. So there's our 40%. Don't forget to add that percent sign. One of the things I want you to notice is on part A, I took the new value first and I subtracted the original value. Okay. If I would have done that here, I would have had 6 minus 10. If I do 6 minus 10, you would see I would have gotten a negative 4. Does that negative 4 make a difference? Well, the answer is no. Okay. If you would have gotten a negative 4, divide that by 10, and then times this by 100, you would be saying it's still 40%, but that negative indicates that it's a decreasing value. Because I don't want students to get confused and add a negative here, just go ahead and find the positive value. What is the difference in the numerator divided by the original value? Okay. The difference here was a positive 4. Okay, the difference. You go from 6 to 10, that's a difference of 4. Over here, you go from 10 to 6, it's a negative 4, but here it's negative refers to the decreasing, while a positive value refers to the increasing. Example 8 says a TV regularly sells for $940. The sales price is $611. Find the percent decrease. It's already telling us it's decrease of the sales price from the original value. So here I put original value was the $940. The sales price was $611. Remember, the thing I want to know is how much it's changed. What is the difference between these two numbers? All I did was put 940 minus 611. This is the difference. I don't care if it's positive or negative, because I already know that this is a decreasing value. Okay, so it decreased by $329. My original value was 940. Okay. So here I get 0.35, and remember to change that to a percent, we're going to multiply by 100. So it's decreased by 35%. Number 9 says an episode of a TV series has an audience of 12% versus its usual 10%. What is the percent increase for this episode? Well, what is the difference between the two values given? Okay, remember, you want to make sure to keep it positive. So I did the larger number minus the smaller number. In this case, it was 2% difference. Because I see the word increase, I know that this is going to be going up. Okay, so the difference is 2%. The original value, or the usual value, is going to be 10%. So here I can do 2 divided by 10. The percent signs will cancel out, so all I'm going to do is do 2 divided by 10, and I get 0.2. Multiply this by 100, and you get 20%. You still need to add this percent sign because this is a decimal form. This is your percent form. Okay. Number 10 says, suppose you paid $1,200 in taxes. During the first year, the taxes decreased by 20%. During the second year, taxes increased by 20%. Okay, what do you pay in taxes for year 2? So we're going to do this one step at a time. This year, taxes are $1,200. For year 1, the taxes decrease by 20%. So in other words, we're only paying 80% of what we paid the previous year. So in this case, what I did was I went ahead and did 80% times 1,200. Okay. We should pay $960 in taxes. The other way you could do it is by finding how much you get off. So 1,200 times 20% is going to be $240. Take the taxes amount that you paid last year and subtract the discounted amount, you still get $960. So either way you do this, you're going to get the same answer. Okay? Now read what it says here. During the second year, taxes increase by 20%. Be careful with this one. For year 2, the taxes are going to be 120% because you increase it, so we're adding it to 100. But it's not of the original value. It's from the value for the year before. So we're going to go ahead and do this in the calculator. 120% of last year's taxes, $960. Here I get $1,152, which is what I have here. Another way you can do it is go ahead and times the 20% increase. So we had $960 times 20%. This is going to tell us how much our taxes increased, but we still have to pay the original $960. So I'm going to add that to $960. There's my $1,152. Either way, you still get the exact same answer. Now notice here, during year 1, it decreased by 20%, and in year 2, it increased by 20%. Notice that these two values are not the same. Just because you decrease your taxes one year and increase your taxes the year after by the same value, it's not based off the original sales tax. It's based off the year before, which changes. So don't assume that you would still have $1,200 when you increase your taxes after you decrease them by 20%. Okay? Part B says, how does your taxes for year 2 compare with your originally paid? Find the percent increase or decrease. Now, notice from the first year, we paid $1,200. But at the end of the second year, we only paid $1,152. Even though we subtracted 20% and then added that 20% back, it didn't come back to $1,200. So what is the percent that we actually decrease? If we started here, we ended up here, we know our value decreased. So the first thing I'm going to do is find the difference. Originally, we paid $1,200. Then we subtracted the $152. That means that our taxes decreased by $48. That goes in the numerator. Our original taxes was $1,200. That goes in the denominator. We would go ahead and do this calculation. So 48 divided by 1,200 is equal to 0.04. Times this by 100 to get a 4%, and as you can see, we started at 1,200 and it went down, so we're going to say that this is a decrease. Okay. All right, that concludes 8.1. Let me know if you have any questions.